This episode is brought to you by Buzzshot, Cogs by Clockwork Dog, PG's Playhouse, and Patreon supporters like you.
Hey, escape room owners. Are you still trying to solve the marketing puzzle? Buzzshot to the rescue. Buzzshot is the secret weapon powering business growth and improving the customer experience. This is software with a ton of pre- and post-game features, including waiver management, creating incredible branded team photos, and streamlined review management for Yelp, TripAdvisor, Google reviews, Facebook reviews, wherever people review. And they also offer integrations with Cogs.
Buzzshot is a company that is committed to two things: reliability and constantly expanding their offerings for their customers. One example of this is their Event Manager. This is a new feature, and the Event Manager is designed to help support the shift to larger group games and the need to manage corporate bookings. These are really important things for escape room businesses to make the most of their weekday bookings. And also, it's something that allows escape room companies to host really large groups. This is the kind of thing that Buzzshot empowers escape room creators to do when they roll out new features. Layer on top of that those new features are backed by the reliability of a company that has been around for years and is constantly working to make sure that their platform does exactly what you want when you need it to do it.
Nick Moran, creator of Phantom Peak, uses Buzzshot, and he says that we needed to work with the most reliable and robust platform available.
And Nick is always exacting in his demands of his products and services. Streamline your marketing and grow your escape room business. Repod listeners get an extended free trial and 20% off your first 3 months with no setup fees or hidden charges. Visit buzzshot.com/repod, that's REPOD, to learn more. Link and details in the show notes. Welcome to the Reality Escape Pod, your lifeline when you need a getaway from the real world. I'm David Spira, alongside my co-host, PG Law. Together, we're exploring immersive gaming from all angles and we'll be joined by guests who really know their stuff. Today's Season 10 finale guest is my wife, and editor-in-chief of RoomEscapeArtist.com, Lisa Spira. In addition to her editorial duties on Room Escape Artist, and largely being the glue that holds all of our work together, Lisa has been tracking the growth of the U.S. escape room industry since 2014 and publishing industry reports since 2016. And today, we're going to do something that we've never done before on Reality Escape Pod. Explore both the state of escape rooms and take our respective temperatures about where we are all at with escape rooms going into 2026. Welcome, wife.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
It's David's life co-host.
Exactly.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you on. We used to have Lisa come on to close out the last episode of every season in the early seasons, and we've missed having you on here. So we thought this would be a great way to take a look back through the year and also go through some of that awesome data that you've been collecting on the escape room industry.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and before we go and do that, we have an announcement to make. Something that I'm really excited about, something that we've been dreaming of for a long time. We are going to do a live version of Reality Escape Pod. One episode, August 16th or 17th, remains to be seen which of those two dates, because this will be at the Reality Escape Convention. We are going to be some of the entertainment offerings at the convention.
Woohoo! We're going to be live and in your face, literally. You will get to see our actual faces for once.
I think this is going to be a really fun part of Recon. I just think being able to do a live interview for people to see how the magic gets made and be a part of it. Like, I see this behind the scenes, but other people don't, and that will be really fun.
I'm really excited about this for so many different reasons. One, it's just something I've been thinking about for a long time. And it's also going to give me and PG an opportunity to really perform an episode. It's also going to bring together a lot of my loves of staged production and audio engineering and figuring out all of the tech and all of the design of all of this. I'm just so excited for it.
And I think that you've both really improved your stage presence since you started hosting this show. I mean, David, you were always doing a lot of speaking, but PG less so. And you both have really become seasoned stage performers, and it's perfect timing.
Can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good time. And besides, this year's Recon is going to be in Montreal, in Laval, and there's going to be a ton of amazing escape rooms, some great talks, and you get to network with all of the top creators in the escape room industry. It's going to be a really good time.
So if you want to learn more and come check out what we're doing, realityescapecon.com. Get the tickets while they're still available. We've already sold a good number of them.
So let's dive right in. Let's talk about the state of escape rooms. Lisa, can you give us a little bit of background on the industry report?
I have written 10 industry reports already, and this will be the 11th one. But I didn't ever set out to write an industry report. This all started from the map that David and I started back when we started Room Escape Artist in 2014. We were looking for places to play escape rooms. And so we sat on a friend's couch, and a lot of people I'm sure have heard this story, but the short version is we searched for major city names and escape room, or it was Room Escape at the time, and made a map of all the ones we could find in the United States. And that was 2014, and there were 24 of them. And half of those were trapped in a room with a zombie. So there were even less in terms of individual companies. And we made this map and we were like, oh, this is so great. Maybe we'll visit them all. Maybe other people want to visit them all. Maybe we should put it on our website that we're about to start, because David's been writing these pieces. Anyway, everyone's heard our origin story, but we had this map and it just kept growing. We kept adding companies to it. We kept finding them. People would write in and say they wanted to be added. And we just kept building up this data of escape room facilities. What the map shows is what I call facilities in the reports. It's places where you can go play escape rooms. So it's not a count of games, and it's not a count of companies, although we'll talk more about that later, I'm sure. But it's just pinpoints on a map where you can go in the United States and play real in-person escape rooms. This is not VR games. This is not boxed games. This is not mobile games. This is the kind of traditional sense locations where you can play escape rooms. So we had that data. And David and I would look at it, and I love data. In my day job, I do a lot of work in different kinds of data.
I appreciate data. I just don't like working with it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're a team. So I wanted to pull trends out of this data, and that's how the industry report started. The early ones are called growth study, because in 2016, this industry was booming. It was having exponential growth. So that's really what the thesis of the report was and what we were talking about. But even when that stopped being the main point of the report, we continued to want to see what trends we could find in the data. And so every year I would dig through it, and David and I would chat about the trends and make some predictions and just come up with our industry report.
Now, what kind of data and trends are you tracking? Is it just room opening and closing? Is it booking data? Is it how many players are playing through these games? How many games are running? The themes of the games? What kind of data is it?
Our data at Room Escape Artist is grounded in our escape room directory that we now call it, that original map that's on the page Find a Room in the top navigation of Room Escape Artist. So that data is literally just facilities where you can play escape rooms. We do track how those facilities are related to each other. So it is, in a sense, companies as well. And many of our industry reports have had caveats. We're not tracking revenue and bookings and some of the other indicators. We're looking at growth as it relates to facilities opening, closing, moving, changing names, somewhat mergers and acquisitions where we can. That's been a newer thing that we'll talk about. But I'm really excited to say that we are partnering with Morty, a past Repod sponsor, on this year's report, and they have more data. So we will be looking at some of those other things that we couldn't look at before, and I'm really excited about that partnership. David and I would not be able to be building this map and this directory by ourselves. The key person behind this industry report and this directory is Melissa Miller. She's based in Connecticut, and she is a member of the Room Escape Artists team. And what she does all year is look for companies that are opening, companies that are closing, keep all of this data organized. She and I work on the map and the directory together all the time. And she is the real driving force behind us being able to have this industry report every year. We would not have it without Melissa.
When a company closes, Melissa takes it personally and then works harder to find a new one.
It's true.
A shout out to Melissa. How is she tracking the companies that close?
We have our ways. I will say, to Melissa's credit, she has found a lot of new tool sets over the years. She's been working on this directory with me maybe not 10 years ago.
It's been a long time.
It started by Melissa just sending me emails about updates to the places that she would play, her local market and where she traveled to. And then we brought her in to really do this in a more formal capacity. And over those years, Melissa has come to me and said, I have this new technique. I'm doing this new thing. She's savvy. She's finding these companies.
Is there any data on like the reason why certain companies close, or you only track just the closures, period?
You don't get a lot of data when a company closes. Oftentimes, it's the result of a divorce, a family medical crisis, a death in the family. We're going to dig a lot more into this later on, but a lot of the time, if a company is closing and not being sold, it's because it closed abruptly and for all the reasons you would imagine a business closed abruptly.
What I will add here is that Melissa does a lot of due diligence to verify that companies are actually closed. And so we do read a lot of usually social posts, sometimes a banner on a website that says, thank you for the wonderful 6 years. Our last day is insert date. Sometimes those say what's going on, but a lot of times they don't. And so we don't really have any way to know what was the real reason that they decided to close up shop. And of course, many companies, there's no message at all. The website just vanishes.
Well, let's look at the numbers. How are the numbers looking this year?
The surface level numbers is that growth is flat. Everything is stable. And that has really been the trajectory for 3.5 years now. My industry report has said we have approximately 2,000 venues in the United States, 2,000 facilities where you can go play escape rooms. And it's been the same number year over year. So surface level, first highlight is the industry is stable, and that's the main takeaway. But there's so much more depth here. And I think that the trend that we're really seeing is a consolidation. David and I have been predicting that there will be a retraction in the market. We have been waiting for the closures to outnumber the new entrants into the market, the opens. And that hasn't really happened. But what I've come to realize in this year's report is that that retraction is happening differently than we had imagined. The retraction is here now, but it's happening in the form of a consolidation. Companies are selling their assets to someone else who is taking over their lease and their games and whatever their assets are and continuing to run that business, perhaps enhance it, perhaps rebrand it, but not always. And oftentimes, the person taking over a closing escape room company is somebody who already owns and operates an escape room company. There are new owners coming in and taking over these existing companies that are, let's say, closing, but changing ownership. But what we're seeing more and more of is an existing company takes over a company that would have closed. And so we have that consolidation. And now we have the same number of facilities, the same number of places where you can go to play an escape room, but less ownership. The other trend that I wanted to mention is a shift in what an escape room is. Not only are we tracking the traditional brick and mortar escape rooms that we first started tracking when we started this directory, but over the past couple of years, we've added in escape room adjacent styles of immersive gaming, such as challenge arcades and Airbnbs that have escape rooms inside of them. And we've seen growth in both of these categories as well. We've also seen growth in FECs, family entertainment centers, that include a permanent escape room installation. So what that means is we're seeing a bit of a shift in what an escape room is, and all of those forms of adjacent entertainment are contributing to our directory today.
So when you say a retraction, what do you mean exactly by that?
For me, when I'm thinking about a retraction, I'm thinking about less facilities. I'm thinking that we're taking facilities off the map because they have closed and Melissa is unable to find enough more to balance that. And therefore, there are less facilities where you can go play in-person escape rooms in this country. But instead, it's not that. It's not that retraction. It's stable in terms of count of venues.
And so since you've been tracking this, has there ever been a retraction, or has it been like, since you've been tracking, it's rising numbers and then just for the past 3 years, it's plateaued?
No, there was a retraction. In 2019, the growth had leveled off to just 2%. And this is following exponential growth, 800% growth in 2016. So by 2019, 2% growth. During the pandemic, the industry did shrink, and there was a retraction, a 4.3% decrease through mid-2020, followed by a 7.5% decrease over the following 6 months through early 2021. So over the course of that time, there was that retraction. Then by mid-2022, things stabilized.
We were really expecting a much larger retraction. Even in 2019, before the pandemic hit, we had predicted a retraction. We actually believe that the government funding that came over the course of the pandemic reduced the impact of the retraction that was coming.
Why did you expect a retraction?
There were a lot of amateur operators who had opened in the 2014 to 2019 era. Just a lot of really mediocre companies and a lot of really bad games. We had a glut of terrible product on the market and a lot of owners who were very clearly in over their heads.
So a much needed correction in the market.
We have never really looked at the reduction in the amount of new companies and the reduction of companies as a singular metric as good or bad. It's not a bad thing if companies that have mediocre product are exiting the market. It is a bad thing when you have really great companies that are exiting the market. And we have not seen that exodus from the upper end of the escape room scene. So if we were to see that, then the retraction would be something that would be alarming, but it's not what we have been seeing. Another thing that we should probably look at is that as much consolidation as we're finding in escape rooms, we know that we're not finding all of it.
That's true. It's very hard to find because it's not always readily apparent that escape room venues are connected to one another. You have the big chains and franchises that have many locations and very clear branding. You know when something is an Escapology location, a The Escape Game location, a Breakout location. You can tell. And then you have smaller chains and franchises, an owner who owns 3, 5, maybe even 8 locations, and they have pretty clear branding. They have the same URL structure. One website lists all the other locations in their region or in the country. Those are easy to find. What's hard to find is when someone buys a location and doesn't change anything. They don't change the branding. They don't change the URL. They don't change the email address. But they bought it and they own it, and they also own one in the next town over. And how am I supposed to know that those are connected? But we know this is happening because anecdotally we know, because we know people who have purchased these locations. We know people who haven't changed the branding. And so we know it's happening, even though when we don't know the individuals, we can't necessarily always see it.
I know that you've also been tracking challenge arcades like Bodeborg, Level 99, and Activate. Are there any trends that you're seeing around these larger format companies?
Yes. Melissa and I like to debate what belongs in our directory. And we look for games that have permanent locations that we can put on a map that we think escape room players would be excited to see. And in recent industry reports, we've talked about some of those trends. One of them is challenge arcades. There are a ton of them popping up all over, and they share a lot of DNA with escape rooms. And David and I have really enjoyed many trips to challenge arcades, not all, but that's a story for another time. But those challenge arcades are trending up as well. This is led by Activate, which many people will know because they have locations all over the country, and they had huge growth this year of all of the large chains and franchises. Activate had the highest growth, and they are owned by the same ownership as Breakout Games. So definitely challenge arcades are trending up. But in fact, all the types of escape room adjacent activities that are in our directory are trending up. We also look at FECs, family entertainment centers, that have permanent escape room installations there. Those are trending up year over year. And we look at overnight escape rooms, which was a trend from last year's report in 2024. We'd seen these popping up all over Airbnb and other sites where you can book lodging that has a puzzle game in it. And we've played some really wonderful ones. And those two, the overnight escape rooms, are also trending up. This trend of challenge arcades, Airbnbs with escape rooms, family entertainment centers with an escape room, these trends of different types of immersive games, this is something that we're watching. We're going to keep following and see how it emerges over the coming years.
Love to see it. So, Lisa, you mentioned earlier that you're now incorporating new data from Morty into this year's report. So what's the backstory on this?
David and I have always wanted to find collaborators who have other sources of data that we can be included. And we've been talking to Andy from Morty about this for a little while. And we connected this year at the right time. And so we were able to chat through some of the other data that Morty has available.
We've talked to Andy from Morty about this for a long time. It's something we've been thinking about doing for a very long time. Both they and we didn't have the capacity to figure out how to reconcile all of our data. But this year we finally were able to take the time to do it. And it really has been helpful. And I think we've tried to do this in a way that preserves the historical data of what the Room Escape Artist industry report has been. We are adding to it with Morty data. We're not breaking any of the stuff that we have always done. We're basically adding in new sections and new flavor. And also, I would say that this data has helped us tune and confirm how on point we have been, even for things we didn't have hard data for.
The most exciting thing when Andy and I discussed the data was that really their count of facilities and our count of facilities was within a reasonable margin of error, which confirmed for me that we're doing something right here, because I didn't have any other data source except me and Melissa digging through what we can find. So that was really great. So as David said, all of the longitudinal data in this year's report is Room Escape Artist data, because we really want to stay consistent year over year with what we track. But now we're adding in some other information that we didn't have before. One of the interesting things that I've seen is that Morty tracks games, and we don't track games.
When you say that you're tracking games, do you mean that you're tracking the number of games at a facility? Because before you're only tracking the facility that's open, whether it has one game or 5 games.
Right. So these days, I only track facilities. Funny story, back in the early days, I did track games. I would say this facility has 2 games and this facility has 5 games. But I learned very quickly that I was not going to be able to sustain that. So 1 year after we launched the map, we rebuilt it and took that out and said, nope, facilities only. But of course, Morty is a platform for finding experiences, for finding the games, for tracking them, reviewing them, sometimes booking them. So they have the game data that we do not have. And so they're able to say how many games there are in the country. And then using their data, we can look at how many average games a facility has. So looking at the Morty data, I can see that on average, there are 3.8 games, individual escape rooms, at a given facility or location where you can go play them, which is a little bit higher than I thought. But I also think that this has been trending up year over year. We don't have longitudinal data on this yet, but companies are opening more games and usually not closing old ones.
To get an estimate of the number of games in the United States, we were using an assumed average of 3 games per facility, which it turns out our prediction was really close. And if you factor in that these companies generally only open new games and they almost never close them without replacement, it makes sense that that average would tick up slowly over time.
And you might be asking, where were you using this? Because it was not in the industry report. And I will tell you that David speaks to a lot of journalists and other people doing research on this industry, and that is where he was using it.
So one of the other metrics that you're now tracking is the booking time. So when you're looking at booking time data, what kinds of conclusions are you able to draw?
The first conclusion that I saw in the booking time data is that what Morty is looking at when we say booking time data is they're looking at when are escape rooms booked. Of the slots that are open to be booked, what percentage of them are booked? The first thing that we noticed immediately was that the United States is not one market. It does not make sense to look at booking times holistically across the whole country because there are trends. As we had assumed, Friday night and Saturday are the most common booking times. Sunday is more or less of a peak day, depending on your part of the country, depending on your metro area or your market. So that does vary. But the other thing that I thought was really interesting is that as an escape room operator, you're not going to be open every day. That would be crazy. Maybe you are if you have a lot of staff. But if you're going to close a day, don't choose Monday, because if you have travelers, they're going to want to play on Monday. It's an extension of the weekend. Tuesday is a better day to be closed. And so that's the type of thing that we are looking for in this data to see trends in opens and closes.
And this was something that we had long assumed, and it's been really interesting to look at the data and confirm it.
Very interesting. That was a great point about Tuesday, because I automatically jumped to Monday must be the lowest earning day. So that's very interesting.
It will shift a little bit from market to market. Escape rooms are heavily regional, but broadly speaking, if I were to give you advice without knowing anything about your business, if you were asking me which day you should close each week without knowing anything else about where you're from, I would say almost certainly Tuesday is the right answer.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is also the first time that you've ever had revenue data. So what are you learning from that?
Yeah, this is the first time that we're having a chance to really look at revenue data. And Morty has some really novel and interesting ways of tracking this. They're doing some really smart things. So what I would say is this is another instance of Morty confirming what we were pretty sure was happening, which is revenue-wise in 2025 going into 2026, the upper end of the escape room market, basically globally, is killing it. They are filling up. They're doing extremely well. The further you get from the upper end, the more escape room companies are struggling. And that is very much a thing that we're seeing across the board, is that bookings are down for the mid to low end of the market.
How are you defining a higher end escape room?
Basically, it's what you would expect. Whether you're using Morty data or Turpica or other reviews, it's companies that have more prestige games. It's the companies that are renowned in their regions. Those are the companies that are doing really well.
Okay, and we can discuss some more of your findings and analysis later on in the bonus episode. But meanwhile, Lisa, when does the full report release?
The industry report is available now on roomescapeartist.com.
Awesome. So definitely go check it out, read through it. There's a ton of great information, and this is a huge labor of love.
It really is. Lisa put so much time into this, Lisa and Melissa. And this year, also Andy and Egeman, Morty's data scientist, they really put a lot into this. I think even without the Morty data, this would have been the finest report that Lisa has put together. With the Morty data, it just takes it to the next level. The amount of people who read the industry report, it's massive. I know that we have had conversations. We meet creators at Disney, at Universal, at big theme parks all over the world. They're reading that annually. There are people at big ad agencies and creative agencies who are like, oh, you're from Room Escape Artists. I read your report every year. When we go to big professional events in the larger entertainment sphere, this is what we're known for. It's this.
Have you considered monetizing it?
There are versions of this in the future that could potentially get monetized. But I think the core of the product, we really do believe in like open data, and we want this to be out there. It's a useful thing for a lot of different people. And yeah, we could sell it. I'm not ruling out selling deeper dives or more specific dives.
A report or deeper analysis.
Yeah, but the core report, I think, is something that is important. And I think it's unique. It's something that not a lot of spaces have, the data that we have and that we continue to be able to share.
David and I have talked about it, but we both firmly believe that making this data accessible is the best thing for the industry. And our mission is to grow this industry. And what's most important to us is that we produce content that propels this industry forward. And we don't think it's the right call to make this gated, even though maybe it would help support us. We think that we can continue to get the support that we need through all of you, through our Patreon community, and through the other income streams that we have. I do think there's a future where we can come up with models for gated content that are behind paywalls, that written content that makes sense, but I don't want it to ever detract from the mission statement. If you find this report valuable, we really would appreciate your support, even if you just join Patreon at the $2 level, or you come for only a couple of months just to say thank you for the report. That's really helpful.
Yeah, it really is so meaningful to us when we are being funded by the people who benefit the most from the work that we're doing, because it's a lot of work.
Or join at the Spoilers Club level. I do think that the Spoilers Club is really useful for escape room or experience designers, because there's not that many places where you can really sit and listen to somebody break down their design process through one game, through one experience. And this is why we made it this way, and this is the game flow that we wanted.
I also want to thank all of the Room Escape Artist readers and potentially also Repod listeners who have sent us information over the years. You know your local market better than Melissa and I ever can. It is so helpful to us when you tell us that a new company opens, that somebody has closed, somebody has moved, changed names, changed their URL. People write in with this stuff all the time, and we appreciate it so much. So thank you, and please continue to use our contact form or email contact@roomescapeartist.com and tell us what's going on in your market that you know.
In addition to the industry report, there's a whole bunch of other end of year, beginning of year things that Room Escape Artist has going on. So Lisa, do you want to share any of those?
Sure. I love the end of the year, beginning of the year, because it's all about the data. We will have a compilation of all of the Golden Lock Award winners that we'll publish on Room Escape Artist. So if you haven't been following throughout the year, or you just want to see that all pulled together in one place, we'll do that piece. Heather Burns on the Room Escape Artist team has been working through the year in review that shows how different posts have performed on Room Escape Artist and has stats for just all the stuff that we do as an organization over the course of the year. It's always so interesting. And Heather spends a ton of time in all the data that we need to pull that together, which is lots of disparate data sources. And then beyond the Golden Lock Awards, we also have the Reaction Awards. This is a new award that we launched last year. The Reaction Awards will be announced with a live stream later in January. This will be on the Room Escape Artist YouTube channel. Stay tuned for the announcement of the live stream and tune in to see who wins this award. This is where we honor creators or other folks in this industry who are doing something interesting and unique. It's something that we want to shine a light on. We want people to take notice because they're doing something special for this industry.
To close out this section, I just want to go and also add that we have tickets available to our Orlando tour. So if you've thought about coming on one of our escape room tours, they tend to sell out lightning fast. This one is not that far away from sold out, but it's one of the first times we've actually had a chance to talk about it on the podcast and say, you can buy a ticket. Come play some amazing games with us and join us on one of the best tours that we have in our lineup.
I'm really excited about this tour, not only because there are fantastic games on it, but also because when you go to Orlando, it's really easy to add a game and play at one of the companies that's really in Orlando when you're there for the parks or a conference or something else. But it's hard to get to Port Charlotte and it's hard to get to Clearwater. These are far locations and we've got a bus. We've got a whole group going. It's going to be really fun. The owners will be there. We'll hang out. We'll talk about the games. This is the way to do it. And we're making all that easy for people. And I just can't wait for the trip.
We got a couple of buses.
It's a lot of buses. I was actually just emailing with the bus company today.
What do you get when you mix pals, puzzles, and trivia? That's right, it's PG's Playhouse, our newest podcast where you can play along with our guests through some games featuring a blend of wordplay and trivia.
Then I share an interesting bit of trivia, lore, or history based on the episode's theme.
Episode 21 of PG's Playhouse is all about uranium glass, which is made by adding a bit of uranium to glass. Well, the symbol for uranium is U, so in today's puzzle, we're making uranium words by taking a word and adding a U to it to make a whole new word. Your answer should be both the word and the new word formed by adding a U. Here's your clue. Nasal discharge that turns back into a nose. Stay tuned for the answer.
Long before uranium became synonymous with weapons of mass destruction, it was mostly serving a decorative function. I share the history of uranium glass in episode 21. Glass blowers and glass factories would add a tiny bit of uranium to their glass, which gave it a distinctive yellowish-green color. It also created a really neat fluorescent effect under blacklight.
Love that blacklight. To listen to this episode and all the rest, check out PG's Playhouse, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You can just search for PG's Playhouse or click the link in our show notes. Did you figure out both words for nasal discharge that turns back into a nose? You add a U to the word snot to get snout. It's a snot snout. Well, you've reached the end of season 10 for Repod, but if you're looking for more podcasts, go check out PG's Playhouse.
We're going to shift gears now to close out this season of Reality Escape Pod and this year. I have written a few questions for all three of us to explore together. Some are lighter than others, but they are all questions for all of us. So, first one. Is there a game that you've played this year that you feel is an underappreciated gem deserving of more attention?
That's a hard question to answer because we've, I think, become so discerning. Like, I've become really discerning. So I tend to only play games that are not underappreciated. The game that I played recently this year that I really, really loved is Election Day at Appleseed Avenue, but it's obviously not underappreciated. It's kind of become the new darling in the LA escape room scene. So I don't know if that's the type of answer that you're looking for.
It's not the answer I'm looking for, but it's the answer you're giving, and that's fine.
I think one of the underappreciated games that David and I played this year was from Improbable Escapes in Kingston, Ontario. They're not the easiest company to get to. They're sort of between Montreal and Toronto, so it's out of the way for everybody. But their game, The Mysterious Miseries of Franklin N. Stein, was a quick hit puzzle. I don't know. It just moved so fast. There was so much to solve. It was very exciting. It was my kind of game, and we gave it a Golden Lock Award, so it's not unnoticed, but it's a game that I think a lot of people haven't gotten out to play, and so it's underappreciated, and it's great.
I was going to give a different answer to this, but the answer I was going to give just won a Turpica, and that answer was Upside Down Escapes, Mole of the Mountain, out on Cape Cod in Massachusetts, which is one of my favorite games that I have played this year, but they're now getting their flowers, so I'm going to give a different answer. And that is a different Massachusetts company, Stained Hourglass in Salem, Massachusetts. And they have a new game called Witch's Hollow, in addition to their existing game, The Boring Office. Both of their games are great, but Witch's Hollow, they've really kicked it up to a new level. And I just played it this month and had so much fun. It's clearly a labor of love, and I highly recommend it. And it's really cool seeing that Massachusetts has new companies showing up and adding to an already strong market there.
I hate to tell the folks traveling to Massachusetts in the near term that Stained Hourglass and Upside Down Escapes are in opposite directions from Boston, but I promise you it's worth it to go to them.
And they're also in opposite directions from The Gate Escape, which is another company you should go outside of Boston to go and visit. They're all in different directions.
The only direction left is the ocean.
So the next question I have for you all, is there a game mechanic or a bit of design that you saw this year that you feel more people should be aware of or paying attention to or doing more with?
Yeah, something jumped to my mind right away. This was a little bit of design that I was very excited to see. And this was in Big Brain Labs, created by Grant Lukey. He's a patron. He is also the creator of Wizard's Treasure, which we love. But one of the things he did in Big Brain Labs that I was actually the most impressed by was an accessibility panel. So at the very beginning of the game, before you've really started the game, there's a panel, they show it to you, and when you open it up, you are able to adjust the lighting and the sound levels inside the game to whatever would be comfortable for you. You could also maybe turn off certain flashy effects, light effects, things like that. There was also a note about there is a rolling chair in here, so if you need to take a seat, feel free to take the chair and roll it around and use it to sit on when you're working on puzzles. And I just thought it was really incredible to have accessibility be given that much consideration and to give the players an option to customize it for themselves. So I'm really excited to see more designers embracing this aspect of the design process.
I love that so much, and I cannot wait to see that in person myself.
Same.
Lisa, what are your thoughts on this?
One game mechanic that I was really impressed by this year was the connected universe of the saga at Escape Artist Greenville, which I don't know if I want to see more of it. I loved it, but I'm not sure it's the right business model for most companies. And I know it's challenging for them to make work for people to book, because what this is 3 of the games are in the same universe and you can play them in a connected order with some lobby scenes that tie it all together and some extra content at the end of the last game, which really elevated the experience, was super cool, and is going to be a real challenge for me making a tour schedule that visits them in the future. Stay tuned for that. We're going to make it work. I love a hard puzzle. It's going to be fine. So for many reasons, I'm not sure it's the right fit for everybody, but when it works, and it was really cool.
It was exceptionally neat. My answer to this one, I think actually surprised me, but I keep thinking about it. When we were going to the Netherlands to run the Netherlands tour, we had asked Victor and Francine from Sherlock if there was anything in Amsterdam proper that had opened that we should check out while we're in town. And they mentioned a company named Backspace Escape Rooms, specifically a game called Aurum, Order of Gold. And I keep thinking about this game since we played it, because it is one of the most fair games that I have ever experienced in terms of making sure that everybody gets to contribute roughly the same amount. Everybody gets almost exactly the same experience. And the game controls this by giving everybody a bracelet with kind of a key on it that is specific to them. And you have a role, and the game calls upon each person at specific times throughout the game. It's not a one-time thing. And it's not like you have a special superpower that's different from everybody else. The keys all do the same thing. You just get called on and positioned in the room by the game constantly. And I loved how equally engaged this thing made sure everybody was.
I love that.
It was really cool. Great game.
Yeah, I think this one is really underappreciated. Moving on, what's something that lots of escape room fans seem to care about that you don't care about much at all?
Something that I really dislike in general are solo moments. And I feel like a lot of escape room players love that. People who go to immersive theater love chasing these solo moments. And it's just not anything that I care for. I go to these escape rooms because I want us to all work together. You know, what you said that you appreciated about that company where everybody got a chance to shine equally. That's what I want to see. I don't want a moment where somebody else got to go do something cool and I didn't get to see it, or I did something cool and no one else got to see me doing it. And I want to share these moments. So that's probably the one thing that I might be in the minority on.
It's funny that you say that because I also don't like solo moments, but for a very different reason. You don't like them because of the FOMO. You don't want someone to get an experience that you're not having.
100%.
But I don't like them because I don't usually want that experience. I don't particularly like interfacing with characters. And I think that this probably goes to my thing that I don't like that everybody likes, which kind of feels like sacrilege to say, but I'm going to go out there on a limb for all those players who are like me. I appreciate that this industry is able to convey story and convey deep characters. And it's really impressive what these companies have been able to do. But like, I'm a mission-driven gal. And I want to solve the puzzles and complete the mission and do the cool thing. And so I often don't fully grasp what's going on until I'm reflecting on the game later after we've stepped out of it. But in the moment, I might not be so sure whose motives are what. And so I don't want to talk to the character because I feel too much pressure that I'm not quite sure what's going on. I just want to unlock the really cool thing over there.
I'm right there with you sometimes because if I'm spending time doing the story, there's someone else solving a puzzle that I'm missing out on.
It's funny because I'm very happy letting Lisa solve the puzzles and happy engaging with the story and the characters. Makes us a good team.
I'm greedy. I like both. That's why I always advocate for game design where they stop the game when there's a narrative moment. I really like cutscenes where no one's allowed to puzzle and we're all forced to absorb the story.
I like that too.
Yeah, the best of both worlds.
PG's just FOMO driven. All of PG's decisions here.
My answer is a little bit different from both of yours. I don't care very much about IP infringement against giant corporations. I just don't really care when somebody does the knockoff Batman game. I just don't care.
When you say you don't care, you mean you don't care to play IP-driven stuff, or you don't care that they've plagiarized it?
I don't care that they're plagiarizing it.
Oh, so you're saying go ahead and plagiarize it all you want.
No, I'm not saying go ahead. There's some nuance to this take. What I'm saying is I am not morally outraged by this. And I don't feel like it is incumbent upon me to go and alert a multinational with a very large army of well-paid lawyers. I'm not being paid to do their jobs for them. I don't really care. At the same time, I do think that you're really kind of dumb if you are knocking off IP like that. I think that it adds a layer of risk to your business that is nonsensical. I don't think that it makes sense to do it, but I'm not morally outraged by it. I would be much more morally outraged if somebody was knocking off like some random novelist that no one has ever heard of and you're like stealing their work. That would bother me a lot more than knock off Harry Potter.
I think most players are fine going to wizarding school and getting to be Perry Potter.
Yeah, look, I just have no desire in my reviews or for any of our writers in their reviews to be litigating whether or not something is or isn't IP infringement. That's what the courts are for. That's what the expensive lawyers are for. I don't care about that. There are hills I'm willing to die on. A lot of them revolve around safety. That's something that like I'll suit up for that. But the IP stuff, I just don't care.
I think one of the interesting things here is that a lot of people don't care, and that's why it works, because people book those games because they want to experience the IP and they don't care. But David and I are in a unique position of hearing from the cohort who cares a lot and hearing very loudly that we should say something. And this is where David is saying, I don't care, not my job.
Yeah, I really don't care. I mean, you can keep emailing me. I'm not losing sleep over it.
Hello, Alex from Cogs here again. Instead of PG telling you about Cogs, which she does wonderfully, by the way, I mean, we all love the way she says Cogs by Clockwork Dog. I mean, heaven. But instead, I thought I'd get one of our customers to tell you what they think. You're about to hear from Tom Bainon, creative producer at The Path Entertainment Group, who made Monopoly Life-Sized, Saw, The Escape Experience, and The Paddington Bear Experience, all of which ran on Cogs. Take it away, Tom.
Cogs, it actually opened up a lot of creative doors for us because what it allowed us to do was think about how we were going to control this experience in a completely different way. So, you know, when we first opened, we had an attraction that had one actor per 6-player team, which was lovely, but actually from an operational perspective was very challenging because, you know, we're not selling all of those games out all of the time, and it's an expensive way to run an attraction. So we actually put more cogs into the puzzle rooms so that we could reduce that operational strain on the attraction overall.
Thanks, Tom. If you'd like to know more about Cogs, go to cogs.show or find us on Instagram or TikTok. We've also got a YouTube channel, The Cogs Lab, where you can listen to our new podcast, Inventures. So, see you there. Oh, and you can also get an exclusive 50% off our starter set plus free shipping by using the code REPOD, that's REPOD, at checkout. Tatty bye!
Next question. Looking back on this year, is there a piece of content that you produced or contributed to that you are most proud of?
I'm extremely proud of PG's Playhouse and all of the puzzles. A whole year of having to make puzzles for this podcast throughout the year has been really, really good practice, actually. I think I've gotten better at it. I think we've gotten a lot better at producing the podcast and just making really fun, entertaining content. And it's been really fun to have a place where you and I get to shine, because this podcast, rightfully so, is shining a light on the guests, and we're really good at allowing the guests to take the spotlight. But it's kind of been fun to go hang out in the Playhouse.
I've been loving it.
I've been so impressed by all of your puzzles. I play every PG's Playhouse while I'm listening to it before it's released, and I love it. And I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
I don't love the trivia ones. I like the wordplay ones. So I love 3/4 of them.
I will say the other piece of Room Escape Artist content that I'm really proud of was helping Lisa conceptualize the daily puzzles roundup post, because that really stemmed from, I was trying to find a review of, I think, Rattle. And I was like, Lisa, why don't we have a review of these daily puzzle games? And she was like, you know what? I think we should. And I was like, there's so many out there. Can we just like aggregate them all together? And she was like, yes. And like, to me, it's just such a great post. I use it all the time.
It's getting great traction. I'm so glad you had that idea. I'm so glad we did that. It was a lot to put together. I feel like it's already out of date and we have to add a bunch more, but it's such a great resource to send to people. I love it. And there are great comments on it too, recommending more games.
Lisa, what's your answer?
So I don't write a whole lot of posts these days, but as the editor, I get to have my hand in a ton of different posts.
All of them.
Okay, as the editor, I get to have my hand in every post, collaborating with every single writer. There are a couple of posts that I'm exceptionally proud of this year. One that I don't think is getting maybe as much attention as it could is a piece by Matthew Stein choreographing player movement in escape rooms. He did a lot of research for this piece, and what nobody else sees that Matthew and I saw was the amount of iterations that this went through to bring it from something academic to something really actionable for escape room creators and players. And I think it's a concept that's not really talked about a lot. This is entirely Matthew's conception and Matthew's writing. I'm not taking any credit for that. But I think it's a brilliant piece, and I'm really proud of how it came out. Another piece that Matthew wrote this year that I'm really proud of is his piece called Why I Love Enamel Pins as Escape Room Swag. And since this has published, I have been gifted more enamel pins than I know what to do with, but I didn't know I needed enamel pins in my life. And I just feel like this piece embodies something that we really want from room escape artists. Matthew had this idea about how great enamel pins are as swag. By talking about it and sharing this idea and giving a lot of tips for how to do it well, it's taken off. People are doing it. People just hand me pins, and it's awesome. And I love that he wrote that.
And we'll share a story in the bonus episode behind the scenes of the enamel pins thing that is really funny.
It really tickles me. There's one more that I want to shout out. It's actually a 2-piece series, and this is the Tokyo Matrix pieces by Ryan Brady. Ryan is living in Japan, and he's been covering some of the Japanese games, and also Matthew recently traveled to Japan, so Matthew will be covering Japanese games in the new year as well. But Ryan has taught me so much about the Japanese market, and his first Tokyo Matrix piece is Sword Art Online Anomaly Quest. And when Ryan first wrote this piece, as the editor, I was really confused. I didn't have a concept of what this is. I was trying to wrap my head around it. I had to get on a call with Ryan and talk through it. And in part, this is because I'm not a gamer and I'm not in Japan. And I was just missing a lot of touch points. But it turned out to be an incredible piece. We recently learned that the Tokyo Matrix is closing soon, which is unfortunate because I know a lot of people who read these pieces were really eager to eventually get to play it. And that just makes Ryan's reporting even more important for us to learn from what they built there and see different types of experiences that we may never get to play. And then I just was so excited to read the second piece when they made a new experience. This is Dungeon Spiral, where I just felt like Ryan took everything from that first piece, and the second one came out so cleanly, like the first time round, and it's a really cool look into another adjacent space to escape rooms, calling back to what we talked about in the industry report that we only get to see on this side of the world by reading Ryan's writing about it. And I think they're great pieces.
I'm going to share 2 things also, because they're kind of like opposites in so many different ways. The first is this show, Reality Escape Pod. I've been proud of every show we've made from the beginning, but this past year, I think we have really been killing it. I'm so proud of what this show has been and has become. And it is, from my perspective, a representation of my love of escape rooms and the people who make them. And just the joy that I get from these games. And I love escape rooms so much, and I love shining a light on the creators and telling their stories. I find that whole process really fun, engaging, and beautiful. And it's what I got into escape rooms for. It's what I got into doing this for. I got into this to shine a spotlight on wonderful things. And then there's the other side of what really my year has become about in escape rooms. And that has become being the fire safety guy, being the guy who is making a lot of noise about some very bad trends, very bad behavior, and what I do believe is illegal activity happening broadly across our community and being encouraged by significant parts of our community.
Yeah, if you want a little spice, a little bit of drama on your panels, at your conferences, bring David on. I feel like he's been bringing the fire to all of the panels and different conferences talking about this.
For sure. So the other piece of content that I'm really proud of is the Fire Week content, of which I'll be producing more content like that in the coming months. The fire safety stuff matters. People shouldn't be getting hurt in predictable ways in escape rooms. And I really care about this a lot. I've been writing about this off and on since 2019, and I am so very much not done with it. I want to be done with it. I'll be real with you. Like, I didn't get into it to do this. I did not get into escape rooms to fight these fights, but it seems I'm the person who will do it. And so I'm here, I'm doing it, and I will be doing it quite a bit more. So those are the two things that I'm really proud of. One of them that I'm eager to do far into the future, and another that I'm hoping I do a bit more battle, and then we as a community come together and put an end to some of this nonsense and move forward with the joy. That's my dream.
I like to be able to give your Repod listeners a little bit of behind the scenes because I get to see it. And I think that on the podcast side, what's really great to see is how the time to produce an episode has shrunk. The amount of research, the amount of stress, the amount of challenges to get the questions ready for the guests and research everything. And then there's the other side too of the editing and the post-production. But I really seen the stress levels of bringing people on drop a lot. And you've been able to get bigger guests from outside of escape rooms who don't know you personally. There were a number of those on this season, and bring them in with poise and without drama to do it, which I've been really proud of.
4 years later, we're actually good at this? We're professionals? Wow.
You absolutely are. And maybe everybody who's listening thought that you always were. It was a skill that had to be learned, and you both learned it, and it's really impressive.
It's like the ducks swimming, the feet, you just don't see the feet underneath the surface, just scurrying like crazy.
I know. But the other thing I wanted to say, like the other side of that, is that Fire Week might be confusing to people because it published in the summer. And David and I played most of those games in late January or early February. And so what I think you don't see behind the scenes is the many months of research that David did to produce all of that Fire Week content. And I think that when people see content published on Room Escape Artist, you don't know how much time and effort Matthew or Ryan or any of the other writers or David put into researching these topics and figuring out how to craft a message. And Fire Week probably was the longest time to message crafting that we've had on this website. But David was really passionate and committed to it and put up with me asking when these posts would be ready for editing all the time for many months, because he was going through a process.
I was going through agony.
But it was important that you put in the research to give us the pieces that the industry needed.
Thanks for all that. So I have one last question to close out this section, and that is, what are your hopes for escape rooms in the coming year?
I was thinking about this question a lot. And what I've realized is kind of incredible because, you know, in the past 4 years we've been doing this podcast, I used to have a litany of rants and complaints and things that I didn't like about escape rooms. And a lot of them have largely gone away, at least in the areas where we're playing escape rooms, things like the leaderboards, poor customer service, all of these kind of design issues and complaints that we've been having. A lot of people have been doing a lot to fix those things, like putting pauses on the puzzling when it's time to tell the story and adding more story into rooms. So I've really been enjoying that. I only hope that this trend continues. People are listening to the podcast or coming to the conference and following these upward trends as I see them. But besides that, I'm really excited to see more almost diversity in escape rooms. So a lot of them, maybe they're just puzzle focused, but maybe this escape room is more task driven, or it's more about the actor and interacting with the actor and figuring out how to social engineer them. So I'm enjoying seeing a little bit more design stratification and a little bit more borrowing from video games and other pieces of entertainment. How about you, Lisa?
I'm really excited to meet people. Is that a valid answer to this question?
Yeah, all of these questions, your answers are your answers.
One of the things I loved about the Montreal tour was because we had already run a Montreal tour twice when we ran the Montreal tour in 2025. We had a ton of people come out to a tour who I had never met before. And I loved that. I loved getting to know a whole bunch more people. I loved seeing how they found escape rooms, which games resonated with them, seeing the different sessions of that tour, get excited about different things. That was just so great. And that's one of the reasons I love running these tours. Because we've already run Orlando, I expect that this Orlando tour will have a bunch of people that I don't know on it, which I'm just really excited because I love the people I meet who love these games.
I'm really hoping that we as a community start to come together and put some of the bad practices behind us. I know there are a lot of people out there who care about the safety stuff, a lot of people who quietly care, and I'm really hoping that we all band together a little bit more and take the communal action that we need to move forward in a way that is going to be safe and productive for players and for the industry at large. That's my real hope for the year. My hope is that we do the things we need to do to make sure that we shore up the community and the safety standards that we have so that we can go back to focusing exclusively on the joy. That's my dream.
Agree.
That's a good dream to have. So as we wrap this season and this year, what comes next for everybody?
The next year.
This is like more production.
I start the same tasks on loop? No.
But better.
But better. Yep. But slightly different. Different locations, different pieces, different ideas to edit, different games to play, people to meet. More of the same. What comes next for us? Recon. I'm really excited about that.
For me, in addition to all the stuff that Lisa's saying, I'm really excited to start rebuilding the studio over the winter. That's something that I'm going to be doing, is hopefully transforming the lighting of this space and a couple of other things, and maybe messing around with a little bit more video.
Yeah, I support you in this endeavor. And I would also like to set up a more dedicated studio space because, gosh, I guess this is happening. We're going to keep podcasting. So it's about time, you'd think 4 years later. But I'm excited to keep working on PG's Playhouse and really promoting that. If anybody is listening to this, if you've listened to last week's holiday crossover episode and you enjoyed it, please give us a follow on PG's Playhouse. I really want to continue producing it, but we do need to get kind of listener numbers up, a little bit more reviews will really help it go a long way to keep sustaining that show.
Yeah, here's to more. We're going to keep on doing great things. Us and the whole Room Escape Artist team. For anybody who is a listener, a reader, someone who comes to our events or even is thinking about coming to our events, we have an audience census available on roomescapeartist.com and in the show notes of this episode. This is to help us understand who is listening and reading and coming to our events and engaging, and where are you at in life with escape rooms, just in general. We're trying to understand who is listening and how we can better serve you. It's also going to offer you an opportunity to pose a question for us to answer, because we're going to be using all of this in the season finale for season 11. So fill out the survey. It's fun. I have modeled it aggressively on what Hank Green made for his Nerdfighteria census. I think this is the closest I've ever come to like straight up copying another creator, but they asked really good questions and I really liked the format and it was kind of exactly what I was hoping to make. So I made my own version of it, put my own twist. Anyway, please do fill that out. It will help us out a lot. And also, you'll see this data reflected back at the end of the next season.
More data!
Yes, I was just going to say, you get to be a part of helping shape the future of this podcast with this survey. So if you love this podcast, if you're interested in seeing what the future holds or any changes you'd like, please hit us up in the survey. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you like and maybe some segments that you dislike, what type of guests you'd like to see. We're interested in all of that information.
Yeah, we haven't run a listener survey in 7 or 8 seasons. It's been a while. So we are very curious to hear what you're thinking. I mean, we know broad strokes, the listenership keeps going up and up. So we feel like we're doing something right, but we kind of want to go and get a little bit more detail about that.
And meanwhile, if you've been enjoying this season of Reality Escape Pod, you're super bummed that you're at the end of the season and you haven't joined our Patreon yet, we have a ton of bonus episodes for our patrons. That is only $5 a month to get access to the bonus after show. We have the guests come on and we have another whole chat and it's more casual. It's really, really fun. And we'd love to see you there. There's a whole lot of other perks such as supporting Room Escape Artist in general. And at higher tiers, you can get shows like the Spoilers Club. These are in-depth case studies of games and experiences. Lately, we've been focusing on games or experiences that no longer exist. So it's really fun to be able to go back and experience something that you're never going to be able to.
And we also do in-between season content only for our Patreon community. So go check all of this stuff out. The content is there. It is all lovingly made. And if you're supporting us, the money that you are giving us is helping us so, so much. We are all working on building a dream here, and every single Patreon supporter that we have is helping us build that dream. So thank you to every single person who supports us or ever has supported us.
And if you are curious, if you are interacting with us on Patreon, that is me who you are messaging with. But if your message is for David or for PG, I always send it to them and send you back their response.
And you can learn more about all of this at patreon.com/roomescapeartist.
So besides finding us on Patreon, David and Lisa, what's the best way for people to follow your work or to connect with you?
That honestly is the best way to follow our work and connect with us. I think the best way to chat with us is in our Patreon Discord channel. That is where David and I are most active. David is very active. I promise you that I read everything, even though I don't type as much as he does. But that is the best way to get a message to us or have a deep conversation with us. I would also add, if you are interested in telling us about something that needs to go on the map, getting your game reviewed, inviting us to something, telling us about something, it is good to reach us over email at contact@roomescapeartist.com. We get a lot of communications across every channel, and thank you so much to Heather Burns for keeping track of all the communications that come in over social media. But I definitely think that for things like that, then the email inbox is a better place.
And you can follow me on Instagram at PG, that is PEIHGEE. You can follow this podcast on Instagram at Reality Escape Pod or PG's Playhouse. I will have links to all of that in the show notes.
Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing all of your hard-earned knowledge and wisdom about what the escape room industry data is showing. for the diligence that you bring to everything that is Room Escape Artist. None of this could exist without you. And PG, thanks for another season. It's been a pleasure.
I want to say thank you to both of you for believing in me, inviting me to be part of the process and part of Room Escape Artist, making this podcast with you, David, and being a part of Room Escape Artist has just been an absolute joy and pleasure. I feel really supported by both of you, and you've really taught me what community means, and it has meant so much to me. And I want to thank all of our listeners also, because we wouldn't have this community without you. And getting your feedback, having a conversation with our listeners, with our Patreon supporters, has just been an absolute joy in my life. And so I hope that you will join our community and come be a part of Room Escape Artist as well.
Everything that she said.
Yes.
This episode of Reality Escape Pod is produced by Teresa Piazza with support by Lisa Spira. We're edited by Steve Ewing of Stand Inside Media, music by Ryan Elder, logo by Janine Proct, and all of this is brought to you by RoomEscapeArtist.com, your home for well-researched, rational, and reasonably humorous escape room and immersive gaming content and events. Thank you to our highest tier Patreon supporters, Derek Tam, Breakout Games, Escaparium, Pat Dupin of Olivier Escape, The Ministry of Peculiarities, Panic Room, Rex Miller, Mark of Keystone Escape Games, Byron Delmonico, Karen, Mystery Unfolds, and Andy Mincer. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. It means the world to us.
If you're enjoying this show, if you want to get access to our bonus episodes and our Spoilers Club episodes and all of the other benefits included in our Patreon, consider joining us at patreon.com/roomescapeartist. Your support is what helps make this show possible.
Our convention, the Reality Escape Convention, is happening this August in Laval, Quebec, Canada. And you should come learn, play, and hang out with us. We will have the whole crew there. We'll have wonderful speakers, some fantastic games, and so much fun while we all learn together. Tickets are on sale now at realityescapecon.com, and you can use code REPOD50. That's REPOD50 to save $50 on your ticket if you buy before the end of 2025. Get your tickets now. They will never be cheaper, and they will sell out.
If you've made it all the way to the end of the episode, you're still here, looks like you had a pretty good time listening, we would love it if you took that good time and left us a review. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. It helps with making people find our podcast, and it even helps us with getting guests on the show.
And if writing a review is a bridge too far, just share the link to an episode that you like with someone who you think will appreciate it. Word of mouth, that is the thing that helps us grow. Thank you so much for supporting us, however you're doing it, whether it is on Patreon, with a review, or just sharing a link. We appreciate you. We had just arrived in the Netherlands and spent a day getting ready to run the Netherlands tour. We were extremely jet lagged and extremely tired, and sitting in our hotel bar having a meager dinner while we were waiting to have stayed up just long enough that we could justify going to bed. And then I get a phone call from Kate Wastel, producer of Recon, Room Escape Artist reviewer, and personal friend. She informs me that she is trapped in an elevator near an escape room in the Netherlands.
What?
And she is trapped in it with two of our other writers, Christina and Curtis.
Oh no.
Not only that, but this was a public game. They were trapped with Dutch randoms in this elevator.
Yep, there were 6 people stuck in an elevator in a parking garage outside of Amsterdam. And she says, hey, I just want to make sure that someone else who's in the country who knows me and cares about me knows where I am and what is up. I will text you updates every 10 minutes.
So David and I did not go to bed. We sat at the hotel bar every 10 minutes getting an update from Kate on the emergency services coming to free them from the elevator.
I started getting messages saying the Dutch speakers can hear the fire department. The fire department is saying they need to call a specialist. This is a much more complicated case than they're used to. And I just kept messaging with them and kept trying to keep their spirits up and making sure that they knew I was with them.
They were very chill about it. Kate, Christina, and Curtis, they're cool cucumbers. They were fine.
But I still wanted to make sure they felt supported.
If I was going to be trapped in an elevator with anybody, like those would be good people to be trapped in an elevator with.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And after 77 minutes, the fire department pried open the elevator and everybody scurried out and they escaped.
I said we were going to play this game after the tour, and I said maybe we should not park in that parking garage, but apparently it's the only parking garage in town, and you have to park in that parking garage. So we parked the car, we walked down the stairs, played the game, and when we were going back into the parking garage, we saw the elevator with the sign on it that it was out of order. Walked up those stairs.
Oh, glad they navigated the real-life escape room.
Yep.